Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar on embracing digital in the classroom. My name's Anna Redding, and I'm the Marketing Executive here at Cengage. I'll be hosting the webinar today along with my colleague Stuart.
Hi there, my name's Stuart Webster, and I'm the Digital Solutions Manager here at Cengage. And as Anna said, I'll be helping her host this webinar today. Just to get you started and to get you a little more familiar with the interface of the webinar tool we're using today, hopefully you'll all be able to see our opening slide on the screen at the moment. Just switched it over to our hello slide, so you should have seen that happen. And that's where most of the action is going to happen today. It is an interactive webinar, so we will be using poll questions and getting you to answer some questions and share some ideas with us through the poll questions. So you'll need to keep an eye on that mainframe throughout the webinar. Slightly below that, you will see a chat room. I can see some of you have started to add some comments there. Roxanne's our chat moderator today, so she'll be running the chat room, but we'll all be adding comments. And just to make sure that everybody's on board with the chat room, because we're going to use it a lot, could you all drop in a hi or a hello, just so we know that you found the chat room? Hi there, Jasper, and Zom, and Teresa, Katya, lots of people in. Okay. Hello from Prague. Hello, Prague. Welcome. Good morning. So it looks like everybody has found the chat room and you've got the main field. So I will hand back over to Anna.
Thanks, Stuart. So just to let you know also that we'll be recording the webinar today. So we've recorded our previous ones, but we'll also be recording this. So any of you who couldn't attend, or if you'd like to watch back, we'll send you the recording after. Also, as you can see on the screen now, we've created a certificate of attendance. So if you would like to receive one of those, just pop your name in the chat room and we will send one of those out to you. Great. So just to start off, I wanted to give a quick overview of why we decided to do a webinar on embracing digital in the classroom. So technology has really begun to transform the way teachers teach, expanding upon and enhancing traditional teaching methods that were used in the classroom before. So educational technology proposes a more personalised approach to learning and also teaching. And there's a growing list of benefits which include motivating students, engaging students, and being able to respond to a variety of different learning styles. And also with technology now, it's becoming more and more possible to enhance kind of content and reinforce any content that you may have. I'm sure that all of you are using digital in some way to enhance your teaching or within your classroom. So as Stuart said, it would be really great if this could be as interactive as possible and you share your ideas about what's working for you, what might not have worked for you, so we can get some ideas together. So just to quote some kind of research that we have kind of based this webinar on, from the Joint Information Systems Committee, they did a survey with over kind of 10,000 participants. So kind of the most prominent features that were found from that were that over 72% of HE students, so higher education students, agreed technology used by staff helped their learning experience. However, only just over 37% agreed that learners were given the chance to kind of be involved in discussions about digital solutions, so what digital solutions are used in the classroom. So that's something we'll come on to speak about in one of our poll questions. Also, 57% of lecturers said student engagement was the main reason for adopting a digital learning solution. So that's also something we'll come on to and hear about your ideas. So I think we should go on to the first poll question now to get things started. So the first poll question is, who determines what and how technology is used? So that may be the head of learning or innovation, head of department, yourself as in the instructor, or perhaps students, or maybe it's something else. So yeah, cast your answers now and we'll see.
Hi, just to let everybody know, Anna, this is a multiple choice poll question. So if you have several people who make those decisions within your area, then please select all of the appropriate options. And most importantly, if we've not got the right person up there on the list, or if you've got a comment you'd like to make about this particular question, please jump in and add some comments to the chat room. So that really helps drive the conversation forward and lets us know what's most important to you. Although at the moment, other has not been an option. If you've submitted your poll, I don't think I can open it up again, I'm afraid. But if you want to put another suggestion, please type your suggestion in the chat room and we can take that into account. And as I said, it will help drive the conversation this morning. Oh, there's lots of typing going on, which I think is very positive. Still a few people to vote, so if you've not taken the opportunity to vote, please jump in now and share your thoughts with us. Okay, so I think I'm going to close that off there, and I think everybody's going to vote has taken the option to do so, and I'm going to share those results.
Great. So it's really interesting to see that kind of the most popular answer there, or the main answer there, was myself, or, well, as an instructor or a lecturer. And that's really good that you're able to decide that. Um, a lot of people are also saying, though, that it's kind of encouraged from higher up. I think more often than not now that students are looking to get as much kind of value from universities as possible. So universities are looking to increase this and enhance enrollment. Um,
I think, sorry, I was going to jump in there, and I was just looking at some of the points that were going past, and Jasper had said that he feels he innovates a lot, and he's using it to drive student participation and get the students to be involved in their in the choice of platform, which I think is a really important piece, and clearly giving students those choices, I think can be helpful. I think from my side, so I travel quite a lot to institutions across the whole of Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, and from that, and from some of the webinars we've done in this series, one thing we have heard is that if you leave students to make decisions, they can be quite innovative, and they tend to collaborate and work well together. So identifying tools that the students have maybe are using outside of the classroom could be a way that helps you to identify things that you could also be using inside of the classroom, whether that's social tools or whether there are individual apps on their smartphones that they're using. They probably have a greater exposure to some of these tools than we do.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Stuart, because in order to understand kind of the needs of students, it's really important that we speak to them and involve them in kind of decisions like that. So it's possible, or more possible, to meet their needs if they're involved in that process. So the research we just quoted says that actually only just over 37% of students are kind of involved in that decision. And that's interesting to know and see if it actually does have an effect on the success of implementing a digital solution.
Absolutely. It is quite key. A few people had commented, and when we saw here, a small percentage talked about their heads of innovation and learning being part of that decision-making process. And I wondered in the chat room, for those of you who had commented on that, whether you felt, are those heads of innovation and learning there to bring forward new ideas and potentially new tools to you, or do you see them more as a supporting resource that can enable you to roll out tools that you've discovered yourself? And as we see, 35% of you are making those decisions about tools. You're leading that decision. So I wondered where those heads of innovation and learning come in, whether they're a support mechanism or whether they're uncovering and bringing new ideas to the table. Oh, there's a few comments coming in, Anna, but maybe you want to move forward and we can jump onto those when they come through.
Yeah, sure. So we'll move on to our next poll question, but any of those kind of comments we can come back to.
Okay.
So if we move on.
There you go.
So this poll question is, how do you measure the success of digital within your classroom? So is it kind of increased retention, increased attendance, or perhaps improved student outcomes? So you look at students' grades. So yeah, if you could let us know what kind of how you see if something's working for you and your students, that would be great.
Okay, so this one is just a single choice question. So we were just trying to see what those key motivators were. But if you want to add comments in, this is definitely a question I suspect many of you have got broader opinions on than just the limited answers in the poll. Please start to share those thoughts in the chat room whilst you're answering. Okay. And everyone's starting to answer. So if you've not taken your opportunity to answer yet, please jump in and do so. Just going to have a look at the chat room. So Siobhan was saying that the head of innovation and learning bring new ideas, but also support. So it's a combination role. So seeing both there. And I think that was also said by Teresa. Martin, as senior management usually do not have any hands-on teaching involvement. Okay, so Martin's saying that the senior management are really trying to support and drive forward key initiatives and ideas rather than specifics, because they're not teaching at this time.
And Caroline's just mentioned a simulation game to see which what impact it has on learning and achievement. That sounds really cool.
Caroline, maybe you could expand upon that a little. So what is it that what kind of simulations is it you're running there, and maybe what area are you teaching? So that would be interesting. Zom saying they provide support. So, still, just wait a little bit longer, see if we get any more votes coming in. Wow, so quite a long one there for Jasper. I'm not even sure I can see all of it on my screen, but talking about what we might define as driving forward outcomes. I'm particularly interested there with the co-design of the curriculum, and to help improve learner confidence. I just wonder, Jasper, is that something that you're doing already, working with groups of students to co-design curriculums and plan out your courses? Because it's the first time I've seen that, and I think it's a very interesting point you bring up there. And I wonder if does that help drive the use of digital in the classroom, because students it's something that they're more exposed to.
Jasper's also commented on the benefits later on when applying for jobs, and I think that's also really important, because kind of any job these days is going to involve some sort of digital kind of, well, and some digital. So it's really important that students are exposed to this and are kind of really prepared for kind of lifelong skills that they will need in any job.
Absolutely, and I think certainly, I think a comment from the job I do now, but certainly the diversity of tools that we use on a day-to-day basis, and finding new tools to help create efficiencies and more effective workflows in work is really key. So exposing students to as much of that as possible, I guess, is part of preparing them for the workplace. I'm going to, oh, there was another vote there. I'm going to end the voting and share the voting now.
So as we can see, and it's not surprising really, that the majority there is about improved student outcomes. So if we just kind of reflect that in a general kind of way, we did a case study at the National University of Ireland with a lecturer called Anne Torres, who had a foundation marketing course with kind of 450 students. And she found that the pass rate was only 50%, and she wasn't using any technology. So she adopted something called Four Letter Press, which is designed for on-the-go learners and is a digital solution. And she used a flipped classroom approach, which is becoming more and more popular. So students would go away, learn the content online with technology in their own time, and then come back to the class and discuss. And she found that after using this technology, that the pass rate had actually increased from 50% in 2009 to over kind of 90%, so 97% actually in 2016. And she said it was all down to the engagement of students, but this just goes to show kind of how digital can be really successful and a really easy way to measure how successful it can be.
Sorry, I was just catching up on the chat room, and certainly Anne's example of looking at the kind of tools and resources that we deliver to students, and how that affects their level of engagement, and that would move on to driving better outcomes is really key. And I think she's a good example of that. I was just catching up with some of the questions in the chat room as well. I was just reading one there from Caroline mentioning that students in a recent feedback, she talked earlier about her simulation tools, that students found it one of the most one of the most positive aspects of their course. So finding appropriate digital tools or online tools to support your students, certainly in Caroline's case and Anne's case, has driven students to have a more positive experience of their courses. Let's wait and see what else was in the chat room. Oh, thank you for sharing that, Jasper. So Jasper was talking earlier about co-designing course curriculums with students, and has actually shared a link to a resource from a JISC conference in June 2016. JISC, or what are they, Anna? What's the long bit? Joint
Information Systems Committee.
So they're the people whose research data we used to drive some of the slide that Anna showed you earlier. So they are a UK-based group, but they cover the whole of, or the large majority of higher education in the UK. So Caroline talking there, and this is a theme that we see often. So again, when looking at tools that students like to use and how they take on board those tools, that her game has an embedded advisor which students like to support their learning. And strangely enough, I came off a call just this morning with a group in the Middle East who were implementing a digital solution from Cengage, and one of their key positives for it was that it had an embedded advisor, I guess you could call it, using Caroline's terminology, that supported students in their learning, so that students weren't just using digital in the classroom, although that was a key driver, that then they use it to motivate how students become more independent learners and then carry on that learning outside of the classroom environment. Cool. So where do you want to go next, Anna?
Should we move on to our final question?
We can do that. Seems like a good plan. So there you go. You should be able to see it on the screen now.
So this is about, if you could have a kind of perfect digital solution, what features would it have? So would it have kind of auto-graded assignments, perhaps saving you time as a lecturer, but also allowing you to engage your students with instant feedback? Or kind of data tracking or analysis, group work functionality, video chat, or the ability to record lectures? Again, this is a poll question where you can select multiple answers, and I think it's probably very likely that you will, because one solution needs a lot of different approaches.
Oh, blimey, there's a plethora of activity going on at the moment. So as Anna said, you can pick multiple choices here, and I suspect even with those multiple choices, there will be other features or tools that you would like to see inside digital solutions that you're choosing to use, or maybe enhancements to tools you're using at the moment. So Please feel free again to add to the chat room, as well as give us your thoughts in the poll. Poll's going well. Please jump in. That is interesting. There's lots of good stuff. It's so much better when you can see it coming in live like this. That is interesting. Okay, so we'll open this up at the moment. If you've not taken the opportunity to vote yet, please do. There's still plenty of people left to vote. Please share your thoughts on this one with us. So thank you, Jasper. We'll come back to that at the moment. I'll throw another piece in here at the moment whilst you're doing this. So one of the themes I hear most commonly, and I've just come back from a trip to speak to some institutions in Greece, so I heard this quite a lot was way, was that they were all great advocates of whatever digital solution they were using. They wanted to make sure that it was accessible for their students through their learning management system. So their Blackboard or their Moodle or whatever else it is they happen to be using, and they felt this was quite important. And that's a theme that I hear commonly on my travels. So I just wonder in the chat room, as an aside, is the use of the learning management system or the ability to integrate into that learning management system a key driver for those decisions that you're making for adopting these digital solutions that you're using, or is that less of a concern when you're using it in a classroom environment? Okay, I'm going to close it off, Anna, and share the results with you. I think they are quite interesting, actually.
Okay, so there's kind of a mix of answers there. See them all. So kind of the most popular answers were group work functionality and also the ability to record lectures. And so that's really interesting actually with the recording lectures, because in the kind of research that we looked at, this is something students really want. However, a lot of lecturers are kind of slightly apprehensive to do this because it may kind of have an effect on student attendance. So students may just feel they won't turn up to lectures. So obviously there is a mix of answers there though, and it's really important that there kind of are lots of different features because students learn in different ways, and it's really important to cater to all those different learning styles. Please do share kind of your ideas and experiences of what works best for you in your kind of experience of using technology. I think it's really clear that the use of digital can really enhance teaching and learning, but it also actually poses the risk of perhaps passively engaging learners. So if we can kind of pool together knowledge and share ideas and stories of what works and perhaps what doesn't, then we can kind of share ideas on how to successfully incorporate digital in the classroom.
Yes, I mean, I think certainly I'm not surprised to see some of these answers, Anna, once we get some comments in. I think the ability to record lectures, as you said, is an interesting one because it's something that we hear commonly from students all over the world, that recorded lectures is a really key piece for them. But lecturers tend to be more apprehensive. And in a previous webinar in this series, where we talked about the idea of recorded lectures in slightly more depth, there was a concern that possibly it would drive down student attendance to lectures, and that they wouldn't be coming in because they could watch it on a video. And I wonder if potentially some of that concern over student attendance to lectures could be negated by the use of digital tools in the lectures that make them more interactive, and students become hopefully not passive learners, as Anna was saying. I think it's a really interesting piece there from Jasper, talking about integration to VLE is a nice to have and it's a useful feature, but shouldn't come in front of the ability or restrict you from being innovative and trying new ideas and connecting to external partners. So I Jasper, I think that clearly an advocate for digital from what we've seen today, and I would agree. I think whilst having a good solid underlying structure is a valuable asset, that being able to make brave steps and try new things and test ideas out, and they're not always successful, but being able to do that really allows you to make changes and push your courses forward and your teaching forward in the way that maybe students are looking for, and maybe institutions are not always ready to make that transition. And there was a long comment from Anita, Anna, but I didn't know if you picked up on it.
So, Anita's commented on how they use Blackboard alongside kind of more traditional lectures in engineering, so they can kind of contextualize the theory that students are learning. So I think that's really important for all kind of, not only engineering students, but all students at university. It's very easy to go to a lecture and learn the theory behind, whatever subject you may be learning. But once you get a job, you really need the contextual information of how to apply that theory. And that's where technology can be really useful. So you can get kind of real world experience of what you're going to be doing in your future job.
Yep, I would agree. And I think some of the other themes following on from Anna's piece there on employability skills and creating that is also the use of technology to help students create portfolios of work which they then use to help them get those jobs, and that's key. So whether it's developing a set of skills, whether it's a more generic skills like I don't know, the use of Microsoft Office software and the kind of software applications they're going to use in the real world, or whether it's developing portfolios of specific work aligned to the course they're studying, but being able to share that and utilize the material they've created in their courses to then help them get a job. That technology has a broad appeal of outcomes that it can deliver to, whether they are immediate ones on the course or more long-term goals. Let's see if there's anything else. No. Recording of micro lectures, so short videos from Jasper there, and micro learning is certainly something that I've seen discussed at events and conferences a lot over the past few years, and certainly at Cengage we've worked with some of our more traditional authors and writers of text material to work with them to embed those micro learning short video materials in courses, and it's something that we've seen students have a high appetite for. So definitely those short micro learning burst videos and simulations are something that appeal to students, and certainly if they have a mobile accessible piece to them so they can use them on their smartphones and their tablets. Oh, time is cracking on, Anna.
Yeah, there's a general consensus that kind of shorter videos are probably more appropriate or better at engaging students. If we just kind of wrap things up, we can address anything if we have time at the end. We just wanted to say a massive thank you for all your kind of engagement and participation today. It's been really great to hear from you and kind of share ideas with one another. In order to make sure we're kind of sending relevant information, it would be really really useful for us if you could pop into the chat room what learning management system you're using. So if it's Moodle or Blackboard, it would just be interesting to know. As I mentioned before, the webinars have been recorded, so there are also 2 before this in our series of webinars. So the recordings will be available if you'd like to watch back. Also, as I mentioned at the start as well, there is a certificate of attendance available, so remember to pop your name in if you haven't already, if you would like to receive one of those. As Stuart said, he kind of works on all our digital solutions and is the person to go to if you want to know anything more or just have a chat about perhaps your needs. So his email is there if you want to get in touch with him for any reason. So thank you so much again for your time. We really, really appreciate it, and we really hope you found it useful as well.
Yep, and as Anna said, just like to thank you all for your engagement and your time. It's been really useful. I think my big takeaway from today, and something that I'd not seen before, was the idea of working with groups of students to co-construct curriculums and to have students involved in some of that decision-making process on their course. I think it's clearly a great idea, and it has a great way of driving student engagement. But I think from the conversations that I had with students, they're clearly their world and the devices they're using and the digital tools they're using. If you're looking to drive digital in the classroom, they'll certainly give you a lot of ideas. Whether they're all necessarily going to work is another question. But that's certainly my big takeaway, is the idea of getting students more involved in the creation and building out of their courses. So thank you for that. And hopefully we've been able through the chat room to share some other ideas that you've not thought of as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of questions coming in still, so feel free to ask any more. We'll leave the chat room open, and we will get back to you about those questions.
Yeah, so we'll close down the call now, but I'm going to leave the chat room open and running. So if you want to ask any more questions or leave a question for us to come back to afterwards, as Anna says, we will go through the chat room and pull out any unanswered questions and email you directly. But thank you for your time today, and have a good day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.